Today I want to talk about the Magnus Archives, which is a horror role-playing game by Montague Games based on a podcast which is overly successful and high quality of the same name. The stress system really sets the game apart and really makes it feel like its own thing. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask and today I want to talk about the Magnus Archives role-playing game, a horror role-playing game by Montague Games based on the Cypher system. Now, when I say based on the Cypher system, I mean it uses the rough guidelines, the rough rule set of the Cypher system, but it adjusts it on places where it needs to adjust it to get the feel of the game, of the world, of the storytelling of the Magnus Archives right. Now, I have a video on this with first impressions and kind of what it's all about, but basically, very short, it is this archive, this Magnus Institute. It is an archive where they keep voice messages of people who've gone through something supernatural. This could be like super like cosmic horror to like, I don't know, somebody who has like psychic abilities, that kind of stuff, where if the police cannot help these people, these voice messages are recorded and it's all archived within the Magnus Institute, right? And the players play a bunch of researchers or maybe friends of researchers or whatever that take out one of these voice messages and essentially go and try to figure out what happened, or maybe give closure to family members who have lost somebody, or maybe even like, I don't know, complete a quest where they kind of like come up with a solution to all kinds of crazy stuff that is happening from that voice message. That is basically, in essence, I completely murdered it, but in essence, that is what the Magnus Archives is. And if you want to know more about it, make sure to go to listen to the podcast on Spotify or wherever. It is super high quality, it is super good, but also I have other videos on this. Now, what I want to do in this video is I want to explain the stress system to you, because the stress system is really where the Magnus Archives sets itself apart, to my opinion, in how you approach things and how realistic it is and how quickly shit can hit the fan if you go through supernatural stuff in like a human's day. Now, before we go deeper into that, I want to quickly state that if you go to the Montague Games website, link in the description below, you can find a preview of the role-playing game for free. You can just download it for free, you can start reading, and if it's for you, you can pick it up or whatever. And you can even pick up the free PDF version of the player's guide. The player's guide is basically, essentially, a lot of stuff from the big book, just reprinted into a PDF that you can give to your players. It's 50 pages of PDF, completely for free. Anybody can download it. You don't have to buy the book, you don't have to own the book, anything. You can just download the player's guide. You can already see like player types and the classes and the powers and the foci and everything. So you can like really get a sense of if this is something for you or if it's not for you. Now, for this video, I'm going to assume you already know the basics of the Cypher system and you know how to create a character for the Cypher system or whatever. Now, if you don't panic. I have a 5-minute video explaining to you how to play the Cypher system, how it works. I will link it somewhere here. I also have like a 5-minute video, I think, or an 8-minute video explaining to you how to create a Cypher system character. I also created a character last week for the other horror role-playing game, which is Old Gods of Appalachia. It's all kind of the same thing, so make sure to check one of those videos to create a character for the Cypher system and then come back to this if you do not know how that works. But I really want to point out the stress system really quickly. Just gonna quickly check if you guys can still see this. I have to move this right about here for you to see this. Now, this is a character sheet for the Magnus Archives, right? And on first glance, it's kind of exactly the same as any other character sheet for the Cypher system. With the exception of this red stuff here. It says hurt, it says stress, it says stress level. Now, this is such a great mechanic that I really want to point out because this can really changes the way you play this game. Now, for example, I'm just gonna go for example. We're going to make Big Eric is a. I'm just gonna come up with something. Is a social guy who fixes cabinets. Now, I know these are not descriptors, types, and foci in the game. I just needed something. Big Eric, right? Big Eric has a might of 12, a speed of 10, and an intellect of 8. Let's just say he has that kind of stuff, right? Normally in the Cypher system, when you take damage, light damage is 2, medium damage is 4, and heavy damage is 6 most of the time, right? There's also 8 damage or 10 damage, whatever. You take damage on one of these 3 stats. 60-70%, depending on your game, especially on the lower levels, it's going to be against might. So your speed defies if the hit is a hit on you or not, right? So that's kind of like your armor class kind of thing. But physical damage, most of the time, it is on might. So let's say you take 2 damage, this goes down to 10, right? That does not happen in the Magnus Archives. You do not take damage on might, speed, and or intellect. Now, it's gonna sound really weird at first for you if you're used to the Cypher system, but it's really cool. Now, normally you start out as a hale character, which means you're healthy, you're in the peak of your performance or whatever, right? And then if one of these stat pools goes to 0, you become impaired, which gives you all kinds of negative stuff. Then if another one goes to 0, you become debilitated on your damage track. You just go down your damage track, which means you can only move in a medium distance, or if your speed pool is 0, you cannot move at all, basically. Now, if you then have another stat going to 0, you dead. That's basically how it works. Now, with the Magnus Archives, really cool, doesn't work like that. So you have 12 might, 10 speed, and 8 intellect. Just like any other Cypher system game, you can spend those points in order to ease certain tasks through the game. Same mechanic, but instead of taking damage here, you get stress levels. Now, everything that happens out of the ordinary can give you stress. It can give you 1 point of stress, 2 points of stress, or 3 points of stress, or even maybe 4 or 5, depending on your game master, how cruel they are, right? So if you take 1 point of stress, you get 1 stress, basically. No, you just have 1 point of stress. Then your stress level is, you get 1 stress level per 3 points of stress. Just like Cypher system, everything is like the rule of 3, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, that kind of stuff. So this is 1 stress level. For every stress level you have, everything you do, everything you do basically is hindered by 1 step. So if you have a difficulty class 15 thing to do, you need to roll a 15 to do something, that becomes an 18 difficulty if you have 1 stress level. Of course, once you have that first stress level, it becomes much easier for you to gain more stress levels, more stress points, because you get to do stuff and you have a harder time saving from it. So this might become a 6, where this becomes a 2. Now, before I go on with this and how this kind of translates into damage, first thing you need to know is that monsters in the Magnus Archives, they don't deal damage. They don't deal 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage, 5 damage, 6 damage. They don't deal that damage. They just deal a major wound, or a major, what is it called? A major wound. I'm gonna call it a major wound for now. Major injury, sorry, a major injury. So you start out as a hale character. Then if you take 1 major injury, it could be like a poisoned knife in your rib chest, whatever, or there's this tentacle monster that reaches out with a tentacle inside your mouth of your friend, and then sucks out like oxygen or blood or whatever goo outside of your friend while you're trying to save them. That's something that could give you so much stress that it gives you a major injury, or if it happens to you, it just gives you a major injury. Per major injury, you basically gain this, right? So basically that's a major injury. You go down 1 damage track. So there is no damage tracking. So this game is all about trying to stay sane, trying to take it safe, really investigate before you go in with guns wielding or swords wielding or whatever. You need to kind of figure out what is happening. Combat is far more scattered out through the game, and it means much more story-wise. But every time you take a major wound, you go 1 step down the damage track. So for a normal character, 1, 2, and dead. The third major wound is you die, right? Now, there are characters in the Magnus Archives types that get the hurt condition. So in between hail and impaired, there's a hurt condition. So these are the extra strong characters. Why is this also cool? In the Magnus Archives, you can use your action to jump in front of one of your friends when they are about to be stabbed or attacked by a tentacle monster. You see that this is going to happen, you can jump in front of them, right? Which means that if you are the type of strong character that likes to save their allies, you can jump in front of them because you might still be hail, right? But you then become hurt instead of immediately going down to impaired, or your friend might be right here and you really don't want to have them become debilitated. You can then instead become hurt or impaired in their place, which is cool, which is pretty damn cool, right? Now, as soon as you have 4 stress levels, and this is what I want to backtrack to, you basically, so 4 levels, that's 12 stress points. You have 4 levels of stress. Each level of stress you gain after the 4th counts as a major wound or a major whatever injury, right? So gaining your first level of stress can really get the ball rolling for you because everything becomes more difficult. Then you gain more stress points, everything becomes more difficult. Then you gain more and more stress points, everything is hindered by 4 freaking steps. So some things just become impossible for you because you've taken so much damage and seen so much shit in like a few hours or a week or whatever, that you're just completely going batshit crazy. Every time something gives you enough stress for you to gain another stress level, so let's say your stress points go all the way up to 15, your stress level becomes a 5, and you get 1 step down the damage track. That is basically, in essence, how the stress system works. There's one more little thing. If something would happen to you that gives you more than 3 stress at once, so 4, that also counts as a major injury. And that is the stress system explained to you in a nutshell. And that's the stress system in a nutshell. And for me personally, I think that really defines what the Magnus Archives is all about. You're just a bunch of researchers. You're not overly strong. And most of you are just like humans who have never seen lots of like really weird, out of the ordinary, supernatural kind of stuff. And you just gain stress from the type of task that you're doing. And once you get into these stressful situations, things can get really dangerous for yourself really quickly, for your friends really quickly, because stress is never good, and stress ultimately can get you killed. And that is what the stress system, which is really simple to understand and use, but really cleverly designed, that is what it tries to do, and to my opinion, really succeeds in doing. Now, it's worth stating that they just finished another Kickstarter for an expansion on the Magnus Archives that raised over $1 million US. So, yeah, you can late pledge to that if you want. And until next video, bye-bye.